Hi, what's up, y'all? Today is Saturday. It's May 2nd, and hi, Tina. Um, we're having our Saturday chat with my friend Cristina Gomes, and when she gets on, it's going to be fun because she's a delightful person. And you guys are delightful. I see like so many people that have come repeatedly, which is very, very heartwarming to me because this was just something I wanted to do and needed to do to fulfill my days. Hi, Cristina, I see you. I'll put you on in a minute. But I wanted to say that we're going into now almost week 4. And next week is going to be really exciting because we're going to have 2 people that are bringing in perspectives from the film industry. And that's one industry that I think all of us are affected by because of how much we consume film. So in a couple of days, my friend Sarah Thomas, who was about to put out her new film this summer, will talk about that process. And then on Saturday, my friend Jeff Giles, who's the executive editor for Hollywood for Vanity Fair, is going to come on and talk about what that industry is looking like. Because I think in terms of the art world and in terms of opening and reopening, that will have immense repercussions for how the rest of the other artistic industries open up. But right now we're going to put on Cristina, and everyone throw up some hearts because she is human in a heart, or a heart in a human. She is delightful, as I've already said. So we're going to get to it.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Can everyone hear Cristina and see Cristina good? Do you see her pink hair?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What are you drinking? Are we all drinking icy drinks today?
Yeah, this is a cold brew.
Oh.
Yes.
Good.
My second
I'm having
one.
This is your second one? Woo!
Yeah.
Ready for that Saturday, bouncing off walls.
Yeah.
I hope you'll get outside today. I'm sure you will, but safely. As we all
I
know.
actually haven't been outside in a little while, so I need to do that soon.
I was just gardening with my kids. Yeah. Oh, we both miss you, Tina. Hi, Natasha. So everyone who's watching and who don't know Cristina, she is based in New York, and I'll let her introduce herself a little bit first. But she and I were coworkers. We worked at a company called Tatley that Swiss Miss, that is, as you see here, Tina Roth Eisenberg founded. And she also previously worked at a company called Kickerland, where I was just realizing this, Cristina, like if anyone here has ever gone to a museum shop, they've seen your work repeatedly, because Kickerland is a company that basically every museum shop sells the products for. It can be anything from like those rainbow window attachment thingies to like those cute magnets where like their butt is just the animal butts, bobbleheads, but lots of like creative souvenirs and toys for grown-ups and kids. So Cristina was at Kickerland for a good number of years, and then she joined Tatley, where we are also all over museum shops. Actually, I just ordered some. So, we did some with Eric Carl for some kids. We did the Albrecht Dürer Tatley of the Rhino with the National Portrait Gallery. No, National. I can't even.
National Gallery.
I was going to say National Portrait Gallery. I'm like, that's not a portrait. Yeah, National Gallery of Art in D.C. The Gorilla Girls, which was my fave, among many, many others. So it's just a great company, and we met there. And now Cristina is moving on to other ventures. But tell us a little bit about your background, Cristina, so everyone can learn more about you.
Oh, man. I feel like you covered it quite well. Yeah, I was at Tatley for 4 years, and before that, Kickerland for 4.5 years, which I think I saw one former Kickerland coworker in here as well, nice. So that's exciting. And that stuff is everywhere. Like, every time I travel abroad, if I go to a museum, I usually find something I worked on there, which is a really fun feeling. Before that, I did a little bit of agency work, and then I'm originally from Tennessee, so previously I studied graphic design near Nashville. And then in addition to all that, I enjoy cosplay and pole dancing and video games.
Which we'll also talk about.
Yeah.
So I wanted to discuss briefly your background, because you mentioned that you studied graphic design. But before that, you were interested in studying or becoming an art student, correct?
Yes.
So what tell me, because you've told me this story, but I kind of like the story.
Yeah, I mean, I drew all the time. I really wanted to go into some form of fine art, or at the most commercial, like illustration route. But I grew up with an engineer father who believed very strongly in being able to like be financially independent and like having a career. And so he, you know, when I was growing up, he's like, you're not going to study art. Like, you're not studying art. You need a job.
Also immigrant. Not just an engineer, but an immigrant engineer father who was just trying to tell you the most practical thing. Yeah.
Yeah. He's from Puerto Rico. He went to college when he was like 16 years old, and he knew he wanted to be an engineer when he was like 12 or 11. So he's been on a path, like the same path for a long time. And then my mom is also an immigrant. She's from Venezuela. So, and studied architecture. So, you know, both of them were like, you need a career. Once I started looking at colleges and stuff, I learned about like other avenues that are more artistic, and I learned about graphic design and ended up studying that, which I actually found suited me very well, because I also grew up with, with my dad being an engineer, a very like strong math, science base as well, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I enjoyed art a lot, and I found that design was like that perfect intersection of the two, because it's art with problem solving. So it kind of, it ended up being the right choice for me in the end. Like, I don't regret what I did or what I chose to do. So. Yeah.
You are one of those kids that like took all of the advice of your parents. I feel like I was not that person. So you then went on and you moved to New York and forged this path as a designer, and ultimately, for example, at Tatley, you were the design director. And I think you were also a design director at Kickerland.
Yeah, I started as just like a packaging designer, and then about 2 or so years in, two people quit at the same time and ended up being the only designer. So it was like, make me the art director. Like, if I have to train people, I'm gonna be in charge.
Yeah. So what was that like? Yeah, I mean, so your career is, you're artistic and you're designing and you're creating, but you're doing it for the mission that is based on retail commerce and for a client or for a brand or for a company that is not your own aesthetic, your own artistic creation. How, does that come easily to you? Because I think it comes very easily to you. I think you're incredibly easy to work with as a designer, because you're not someone who like takes it personally when someone doesn't like a design that you've done. You very much see it as a service, I think. Although I've seen a couple times, you're like, oh, I really liked that one, but that one wasn't accepted, and I'm just going to file that in my Dropbox folder of the things I like. But I've worked with other designers and creative directors who don't go about their work within the same way. And I'm curious for you to talk a little bit about how that comes easily to you, or what that process has been like for you to become that kind of designer.
Well, I think part of it is I've always been lucky to work with design-minded people. So, I feel like I haven't ended up being in that situation where I'm forced to create work that in the end I don't like. So I think in that realm, I'm really lucky. So even if my favorite thing doesn't get chosen, usually I end up liking what gets picked anyway. So that's one thing. And then also, I think I have a natural tendency to be a people pleaser. So if someone likes something, that kind of suits my personality anyway.
That's funny. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, so that's just something that you think your personality is suitable for the work that you ended up choosing.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it's all about like pleasing a client too. Like, I'm a creative and I want to make work that I'm proud of, but part of graphic design is creating something that the client is happy with too. So, you know, there's always a little bit of like pushing, but in the end, you know, it's a service. So you want to make sure that they're happy as well.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how life has been for you during this time, because you live in the thick of New York City, you're in Manhattan, and you and your husband are both working from home and navigating life in the city. What has this been like for you?
It's been interesting. I mean, I'm lucky that my husband has been working, and I've gotten unemployment to work, so that's cool. I've also had a little bit of luck with freelance, but on top of that, I've wound up with a lot of free time, so I find myself naturally falling into this like housekeeping, cooking, and like free time, like, you know, kind of figuring out what to do with myself. So, you know, in addition to like doing a little work here and there and applying for jobs, and I've been interviewing for a few places. I've also been playing a lot of, I've been doing a lot of pole. I've been trying to stay active through that. And then I also have been playing a lot of Animal Crossing.
So you are someone I know who is like so very disciplined and busy at work, but then once you're not at work, you have your hobbies. Like you are a hobby person, and we will talk about those because they're like almost as critical to your livelihood as your work.
Yes.
In many ways, which I think is great. You have wonderful balance in your life, but for a graphic, I just want to talk about you professionally. Have you found that because you are a graphic designer who offers a service, that this job landscape has worked out okay for you versus like, you know, potentially what other people might be trying to find? Because there are 30 million people unemployed right now. So the unemployment numbers are horrible. The job, you know, openings are definitely like people are not hiring in the same way as they were before, but you seem to be having, you know, knock on wood, but luck with getting interviews, getting freelance work. Do you feel like that's because of the type of work you do?
So you broke up a little bit, but it sounds like you're asking if I've had like luck, like finding like what that's been like.
Yeah, I'm asking if because of the type of work that you do, which is you can do it remotely, do you feel that the graphic design world is perhaps not as affected in some ways as other industries because of the nature of the work?
I mean, I definitely feel like it is affected just because I'm not seeing as many jobs out there. There's a lot of places with hiring freezes. So I feel like it's just a victim of like what's happening across the board everywhere. But there are definitely still companies that are growing and are hiring. So, I mean, I feel like I have been lucky in that sense. Like I have had a couple places reaching out to me, and I feel like for companies that are still doing okay, like design is always a needed thing. So in that sense, I feel like there are still opportunities out there.
And how are you finding those opportunities?
LinkedIn, like I look at job boards, LinkedIn's job board, a couple, I've had, you know, I redid my entire website really early on in quarantine, just because it's something that's been on my list for a while. And I was like, well, now's a good time. I am stuck at home. I've had a couple people just reach out to me. A friend pointed me in the direction of a Candor. I don't know exactly what they do, but they have like a job board you can put yourself on and, you know, just say that you're unemployed. And I've gotten some contacts through that as well. So it's, you know, trying to find whatever avenues I can.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I hope it continues. And you seem to be keeping yourself busy. But I also think that your ability to redo your website during the very beginning of this was critical. You know, it's something that I think a lot of people wanted to do or have intentions for, but either they're not as savvy at it as you are, so they're kind of learning as they go, like me, or they are people who, you know, like just emotionally couldn't get out of the rut of the first few weeks. And yeah, I mean, I had so many intentions in the beginning of like, I had a list of all the things I wanted to get done and things I had been meaning to do for myself. And it's been really hard to do it. So I commend you for having the energy to do that.
I feel like my work ethic is going down a little bit the more this goes on. So the fact that I got that done with early was a
Yeah.
great, like, I feel very good about having done that early on.
No, that was smart. For those who are just joining, this is Cristina Gomes, a design director and graphic designer, my former colleague. And if you have any comments or questions for her, put it in and we'll try and get to them in a little bit. Hi, Yayoi. So one of the things that you have always done, again, since we talked about your decision to pave this career path as a graphic designer, which, you know, your father and your family felt like was more of a common sense career versus becoming an artist. But you have fulfilled your artistic, you know, impulses and your creativity in other ways. And one of those ways that I love so much about you is your background and your experience and your love for cosplay. And but cosplay is like, you know, I really didn't understand it before I met you. I knew about it, but once I learned through you how involved it is in terms of the creativity, it really blew me away, because it's not like people are just renting costumes and going to conventions, right? Like, you are spending months creating something. Tell us more about that and why you got into it.
Yeah, I mean, I got into cosplay. Growing up, like, even as a small child, I loved costumes. Like, I had a box of just old clothes. I had, like, 1 yard of gold fabric that I remember, like, begging my mom to get. Like, I was like, please give me, like, this fabric. I used it as a cape. I would tie it up into a skirt. I would wear it as, like, wings. Like, I loved costumes. And then I started getting into, like, anime and video games. And then at some point, someone was like, oh, there's, like, conventions people go to. I was like, I remember being in a sleepover in the 6th grade, and someone told me about, like, anime conventions, and they're like, people go and, like, they dress in costume of characters. I was like, are you telling me there's a way I can take this, like, love of dressing up and this other, like, new interest I have and, like, put them together? And so immediately I was like, this is great. Like, I'm very into this. And so I went to my first convention 20 years ago, and I had my mom make me, like, a Sailor Saturn costume, and I didn't actually learn how to sew until, like, probably, like, 12 years ago or so. And so, you know, ever since then, I've really, like, worked on improving the craftsmanship of the costumes and just, like, picking things that I know I'll enjoy working on. So, like, you know, I've learned I've learned how to embroider. I've learned how to sew. I've learned how to work with leather, make armor out of foam. Like, it's such, like, it's a fun hobby because you can learn so many different skills through it.
Yeah. And you've built a whole community of friends, right? I mean, you have some of your closest friends are through that world. Yeah. So what is it?
Even my husband too, kind of, like, he's through that network as well.
Yeah. So what does that look like for you guys since, you know, social distancing? Have there been creative ways of cosplaying?
I haven't done much with it, but I know I have a couple of friends who are still working, and they've done company Zoom calls where they've done costume contests and stuff. And so I, like, see some of my friends, like, in full cosplay to get on a Zoom call, which is really funny. Luckily, like, I only do, like, 3 conventions a year. So the first 2 already happened, like, right before quarantine. And then the next one is not until end of August, early September. So, like, maybe it won't happen. We'll see. But one thing one overarching, like, goal that I would love to accomplish while I'm stuck inside is, like, to finally start working on the costume for that convention, whether or not it happens. But I have yet to begin.
Got it. And your other big hobby is Animal Crossing. And
yes.
No, I mean, especially during this time. And I'm hoping you can tell people who are on that may not know very much about Animal Crossing, more the background of what it is and why you play it.
Yes. Animal Crossing is a long-running Nintendo series where you play as a little villager in a little town of animals, and it's kind of like doing chores because you, like, pick fruit and plant flowers and dig up fossils and stuff, but it's, like, a very calming sort of game. And the new one came out pretty early on in quarantine, and it's a lot more social this time around, so people can visit each other's towns, and it's kind of fascinating what people are doing with the game. Like, it's become, like, a very large cultural moment, I guess. Like, I've started building like a little modern art museum on my island. So I like recreated some stuff from like Naoshima Island in Japan, which I went to a few years ago. I made like Yayoi Kusama's obliteration room in one of my houses. And then
nice. Wow. Wait, can you share? You can't share that. Can you share that with me later so I can share it?
Yeah, I mean, I can try and see if I can pull it up on the screen.
Okay. I mean, just while she's doing that, you know, Animal Crossing, again, like you said, is a Nintendo game, and Nintendo released it kind of very simultaneous to a lot of these shutdowns, especially here in the U.S., and it blew up. It's like the best-selling game ever from Nintendo, and what I'm seeing that I found really fascinating is that people who were not gamers before are using it as, you know, either like a stress relief or just something to do while they're stuck at home all the time. But people are using it creatively. And, you know, my earlier talk with Erin McMonigal from the New Museum, who does special events, she was talking about a lot of these online virtual worlds that people were creating and that museums are looking at to look at ways of gathering audiences and members, you know, to give them like a little bit of a community during the time, but also in a creative way. And so I don't have it, but I'm very curious about Animal Crossing. Okay. So that's your Yayoi Kusama Infinity Room.
That's the obliteration room.
That's your obliteration room. How long did that take you?
Not that long. I had to make the pattern. I made 2 patterns, and then you can like apply it to different furniture and walls and stuff, and that part doesn't take very long.
Wow. So Jose Diaz, who just joined, he's the chief curator at the Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh. I'm like, Jose, are you guys doing this at the Warhol? That would be brilliant.
That would be great. I know I've seen some people making Warhols to put in their houses, and like the Met just
in their Animal Crossing houses.
Yeah, and the Met just made it so that you can like add their work to your like in-game patterns as well, and like have stuff from the Met in there.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you can have a work of art from the Met in your Animal Crossing home.
Yeah, and like the Met has like a way of like taking their work and putting it into Animal Crossing.
That's awesome.
So it's like it's very interesting. Like what people like I had like my birthday party in Animal Crossing. I've seen people doing weddings in Animal Crossing. My friends having a Met Gala this weekend.
Oh right, tell us. So that's Natasha's boyfriend, Jeremy Yin, who of Foundation controls copyrights. Oh, Jose, ask the foundation. The Warhol Foundation controls the Warhol copyrights. No, I mean, so Jeremy, who's a cartoonist and illustrator, is creating the Met Gala, but in his Animal Crossing house, or did he create the Met?
There is a museum already that exists because you can like submit fossils and fish. So he like has the museum up, and then he built like this whole red carpet setup and like an area for people to like come and show off their outfits for the Met Gala. And it's like all themed like this year, so it's like about time, and he has like it's very funny, and like
that's great.
Yeah.
So is it supposed to happen on Monday?
I think we're doing it tomorrow just because it's easier for most people, but it is.
Yeah.
I know it's supposed to be Monday.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. People are so creative, and I more and more am just thinking like I gotta get into games more just to understand the future of how we're all going to be, not all, but how so many of us are going to be consuming culture and art. You know, the fact, I mean, there are already like actual museums that are dedicated to virtual art, which is kind of this like paradox, right? You have, or an oxymoron, you like go to a physical space to look at visual stuff or virtual stuff. But, you know, the fact, especially now, which is so much more important, is that they're able to create community and like a sense of gathering in tribute to artwork, which is something that we had all been going to museums for in the first place. Because I mean, I don't know when museums are going to reopen again. I've spoken to several museum directors, you know, over the course of these last few weeks, and in Asia they're starting to, but very carefully, and in the US they're looking at July, and we'll see. And until then, everything is on our laptops or our desktops, which is fine, or our phones. But like to be able to like, can you go into Animal Crossing and can I like bump into you and like know that you're there and we're looking at the same painting?
I mean, so everyone has their own island, so you can like fly into someone's island, and then you can like go to the museum and like look at the fish or the art together.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
And they like added an art section to it, so you can actually collect like works of art based on real works of art and like put them in your museum.
Huh. I gotta get a Nintendo.
I know.
Okay, that's on my list, and it's not for the kids; it's for me. Well, so wait, let's get to a question. Noah had a really interesting question where he said the shift to online is being accelerated due to COVID, e-commerce, online events, etc. Do you think the need for good graphic design will be in higher demand in the near future? That's a good question, Noe.
That is a good question. I mean, the beauty of graphic design is that it can be physical or digital, and I feel like graphic design as a career has been shifting to be more digital anyway, and with that shift being accelerated the way it is, I'm definitely noticing in the job hunt that UI UX is like a huge skill that is being looked for now. So I think I feel like the need for graphic designers it seems to be about the same right now, but I think the need for like a strong foundation in digital design is becoming more and more important.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I also think that it's really easy to hire graphic designers, and it's oftentimes very much worth the cost because they make it so much easier, and they just give you like a really good foundation to move forward with your graphic identity and with your brand. But no, it's a good question. I think what I've been noticing, I mean, this isn't really graphic design, but this is more like art direction. A lot of the commercials, the TV commercials right now during this time, some are good, but it's all kind of the same. It's a very like montagey or just clipped together because no one's like out there shooting anything. But there's a certain aesthetic right now, and I'm not really into it. I'm excited for like new ideas again, and it's weird because like this has been, it seems like it's such a long period of time that we've been in isolation, but it's very truncated, right, in the scheme of things. But the visuals changed immediately, and now I think it's going to start changing again as we go out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely it's interesting to have seen the shift too from like, especially with e-commerce, like trying to be super sensitive and then like kind of dropping the sensitivity to some extent and like really trying to be more e-commerce again.
It's a fine line. Yeah. Well, we have one more minute, but Noah has another question. If you're working with a client that is primarily offline, i.e. independent magazines, consumer goods, is it difficult to translate their aesthetic to digital?
That's a good question. I mean, in my freelance, one of the freelance things I did was working on some stuff for a book that is being printed. So, and then also I've been doing some like packaging freelance as well. So I feel like I've been in a situation where I've been doing mostly printed products still, which is kind of interesting. I think I feel like if you have a brand and the brand is strong, it should be able to translate from print to digital, seamlessly, one would hope. And I feel like so many brands are not just physical, like
one or the other.
Yeah. Tattly's a physical product, but it has a very strong online presence. So,
Right. Yeah, both kind of go hand in hand now. I'm going to put this on later because I miss her. But in our last minute, what have you been doing for yourself to get through this time?
I think, on top of Animal Crossing, I think one of the big things I think has really helped me is staying active. I think like I got a home pull or a pull for home like right when things were shutting down, and just being able to have that and like take classes online with my studio has been like very helpful to me in this time. Like it keeps me from feeling like I'm just this like little lump inside.
Yeah, that's good. Cristina, a year ago or so, did this incredible performance as part of her pole class or pole group, where you basically combined cosplay with pole. So you were Mario, right?
Yeah,
she was Mario from Super Mario team. It was amazing, and like you had the pipe and everything that you would go to. I mean, it was so good. It was so good. I'm just really impressed by all of the work you do and how you balance your life and your career. So yeah, kudos. And you know, we had good times at Tatley. We had good times. Thank you, Tina. All this stuff. So we're out of time, but everyone throw up some hearts for Cristina. She did fabulous. And, you know, I will say as well, like if anyone is interested in like redesigning their email campaigns or they work with MailChimp, she's such a pro at it. She can do it like with her eyes closed. So I highly recommend Cristina for that. And this will be up for 24 hours and then archived on YouTube. And I thank you so much for spending a Saturday 30 minutes with me and the rest of us.
Thank you.
Queen, yes. You're welcome. And tomorrow at 11 a.m., we're going to be having a chat with Karash Nuri, who owns Carbon 12 Gallery in Dubai. So it's my first chat with somebody from the Gulf region, and I can't wait to hear what life and work there is like. So if you guys are around, tune in. And in the meantime, have a great day, everybody, and you, Cristina.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.